wanted to ask about, and thank you for this. I wanted to ask you about something in your briefing where you said, paragraph 11, you said the radical opposition has continued to criticize the recent political breakthrough and has called for the resignation of President Martelly. Now, the reason I wanted to ask you is, one, can you explain what you mean by the word radical? Do you mean it in a pejorative sense? Do you mean it in a sort of going to the roots? And the reason I ask you is that not just those protesters, but the New York Times on March 16th ran a long article about various allies and associates of Mr. Martelly being involved in crime. So it would seem from the outside, at least, that one could be opposed and ask for that without being deemed by the UN to be a radical. So can you explain, and also what's the status of the MINUSTA's investigation into the shooting at demonstrators that was shown on, videotaped? Thank you.
All right. The use of the expression was by no means meant to be pejorative. It was simply an indication that some members of the opposition in Haiti have a very firm position that has been repeated and that is continuing, and that these members of the opposition have not, as it were, accepted what is going forward with respect to the electoral process and with respect to some developments that have been made on the political front with respect to governance, with respect to the political accord that was signed between the executive and some political parties on the 11th of January. It was in no means, or by no means, intended to be a pejorative remark. With respect, I will not comment on the article in the New York newspaper. There is, of course, freedom of expression, and all are free to express their opinions. On the question of the incident that occurred on the 12th of December, an investigation was conducted immediately by MINUSTA, and the results of that investigation have been transmitted to the Department of Peacekeeping Operations for the necessary follow-up action that is done by the UN in cases such as these.
And are such reports released? That's just what I just wanted to, because I've continued to ask and they keep saying it's not finished. Is it finished but it's not going to be released, or is it going to be released?
The investigation done by MINUSTA is with the Department of Peacekeeping Operations at this time. I wanted to ask, in your briefing in paragraph 15 and in the report, you say that there's been a spike in cholera cases in the final quarter of 2014. So I just wanted to know a little, since it's attributed to sanitation and water conditions, have those grown worse? And also there was a reason, you may say that this is freedom of speech, but a recent report published by the International Peace Institute about peacekeeping and health. And they study this case of cholera in Haiti, and they say that basically that the UN's refusal to accept responsibility or to cite immunity in court has damaged the UN's legitimacy and moral standing. And I wanted to know, have you seen that, and what do you think of that analysis? You asked about the recent spike and whether, what was the specific question about the reference to the spike? Because I also see that you said that this will continue until gaps in infrastructure and services are closed. Mm-hmm. It made me wonder, what does the UN, why does the UN think that it spiked? Have infrastructure conditions grown worse, or what's the No, it's not necessarily and specifically a question of infrastructure conditions having worsened. It is in reference to a particular case of a spike in infections that was observed in a certain area of Port-au-Prince, where the water distribution channel of the State Water Distribution Authority had been breached and therefore contaminated, causing the infections. The report of the International Peace Institute on that opinion, I do not believe that the situation as exists in Haiti has compromised the acceptance of the role of the United Nations worldwide and or the work which the United Nations continues to do in support of people throughout the world on a daily and continuing basis. Thank you.
Pensez-vous